Warchant game day, and away we go. Florida State back at it, at home. Final time. How about that? Florida State, Virginia Tech. Noles looking to bounce back, get a win in the ACC. Of course, it's interesting as we begin the show to have the conversation about a singular game is a little difficult when you're in the midst of losing football games and the discussion shifts off the field to what is the future of Florida State football. So we enter with that hanging overhead tonight against Virginia Tech. Can the Noles get a win in the immediate? What's the long-term plan? Does a win matter? In regards to that plan, does it not? What's the future for Florida State? We'll talk about the game, though. We will. We'll get into the matchup itself. And I think, Tom Lang, you said earlier in the week on the wildly popular Jeff Cameron show that if you don't care to be there, Virginia Tech will show up now. They'll play hard. They'll play. They're not good. They've had a ton of injuries. And obviously it led to the firing of their coach, and it's been a disaster for them. But they do play hard.
They do. They run the ball. They like to run the ball. They're physical about the way they run the ball. And all of the primary runners, guys they've used for most of the season, aren't scat guys. They will thunder, and they're very physical. I mean, Kyron Drones is a large human being. I think, obviously, as different as he looks than Tommy Castellanos, they're the same passer. They're the same guy, capable of immensely jaw-dropping throws, but then also capable of immensely jaw-dropping, how did you miss that type throws. But as a runner, he's willing, he's large. Marcellus Hawkins is their top running back. He's run for nearly 600 yards this season. He's 5'11", over 210 pounds. And then Terrion Stewart, if you didn't have enough large guys, this player's 5'9", 220, a true bowling ball. They will run the ball. I think it might have been Ashlyn Barker who said it earlier this week in Florida State player availabilities. They'll run the ball every play if they can. Yes, they will. They will run the ball every play. If you let them, they'll get in 3rd and 3, or 3rd and 4, they'll still run the ball because they might do it on 4th down. Extreme physicality, and it's a scheme that, while it isn't Einsteinian, it's one that you have to be on your P's and Q's for. Contain, backside, you'll be put in conflict. Do your job and be physical. That's the story of today. Does Florida State's defense want to do its job, not freelance, and be physical for 60 minutes? I know usually we get into the crux of the game later on, but this is, to me, the intrigue of today's game is, after all these losses, and a loss in which I thought the Florida State defense played pretty well last week against Clemson. In fact, I'd argue it played better against Clemson than it did Wake Forest because of the preparation and all the little details you saw. Are they still bought in? Because if they're not, Virginia Tech is going to expose that.
The defense has been better as of late, period. That is inarguable. I believe that to be true. The good news for Florida State is their success, and I mean the statistic, defensive success, against the run is still top 25 in the country. They're pretty good at stopping the run, at buckling up and coming downhill and playing the run. They get hurt in the passing game when teams are able to buy time for their quarterback and throw the ball down the field. Wake didn't really have that opportunity going back to that game because they were so one-dimensional and they didn't trust their quarterback to throw it around. So Florida State's ability to make them one-dimensional and stop the run really changed the dynamic in that game. And I think you're right. I think Florida State largely played well on defense against Clemson. The offense was impotent, unable to take advantage of opportunities. And in the end, obviously, you have to be able to score some points. So I don't blame the defense for the last loss. You know, it's fascinating. The success rate for Virginia Tech on the year, whether it's per drive or per game offensively, all stems from exactly what you said, Tom. It's all about the running game. And if you look at their EPA on first down in the run game, they're successful. They give themselves a chance to keep drives alive primarily, almost solely because of the running game. They're awful in every statistical measure in the passing game. So they make no joke about who they are or no bones about who they are. They are going to try to run, and they're going to try to run some more, and then they're going to run a little bit more, and then they're going to make sure you walk that safety down and you stack the box to stop the run, and then they might try a shot play down the field, or they'll try something off of that run. The same thing we see throughout pro and college football. If you're one-dimensional, you're heavy one way or the other, you have no balance, The only way you have success in the other half of the ball is by setting it up with the thing that you do well. And so that's what they're going to try to do. I do think the game comes down to, does Florida State tackle? Do they want to be there? Are they physical early? Because then I think it gets away from Virginia Tech the same way that it got away from Wake. If that happens and you're able to take a lead the way Florida State did against Wake eventually, you get up a couple scores, this could be a comfortable night inside Doak Campbell. This could be a comfortable night on Bobby Bowden Field. This could be a rocking chair game in the same way that it became a rocking chair game against Wake Forest. If you are not bought in and that Clemson loss broke your spirit and you are going through the motions and Virginia Tech is able to stay on the field for 6-7 minutes at a time, the way so many of our opponents do in their opening drive over and over again, if that happens, then you got a problem, you got a game, you got a 4-quarter game, and then you better hope your offense shows up, because at that point, that you're in for a tight game well into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, just looking at Kyron Drones, the player and the passer, and I'll get to the running game with him in a second, but I mean, he and Tommy are just so very similar in that before the game starts, I mean, one of them's got 58%, 59% completion. Tommy's at 60. Tommy has thrown 6 picks against 11 touchdowns. It's 15-6 for Drones. It's like a 33 to 35% three-point shooter, but he gets to that 33 or 35 by getting hot within the course of one game. So before you start, and we know this from watching Tommy, if you get good downfield passing Tommy, you're going to have a lot of points scored, a lot of good drives. But if you get inconsistent Tommy that can't hit the broadside of a barn, you're going to be stuck in the mud with 10 or 13 points. And that's the Clemson game last week. You have drops, but then also some misses. That's who Kyron Drones is as a passer. But if he catches fire today with a guy like Jabril Rawls not available for Florida State, I mean, you could see Virginia Tech hitting some downfield shots. But the reason they're so successful running the ball specifically on first down is every single run, it feels like, it's probably like 85, 90%, have presentation of a read option, Drones using his legs, or an outright element of the read option where he can. No matter what it is, though, there's that extra half tick of he will ride the decision point, the mesh point, not on that old Wake Forest level, but enough that it's going to hold somebody in place. And so if you have to account for Kyron Drones, the runner, not just because of speed, but because of his power, I mean, that is going to put you in good numbers if you're Virginia Tech. So every single play they do that. And then some of the other things they do are misdirection tactics that Gus Malzahn will use. So, for example, if you've got what looks to be a gap scheme where you've got two guards pulling to the right, well, the run action might actually be to the left. The guards are just there to confuse the linebackers or the safeties or whoever's coming down to make the play. But Drones or Hawkins or somebody else will be moving the other way. Gus runs that, so that shouldn't be foreign to us as a defense. When we go good on good, I'm sure we see it. But there's a lot of motion in general from Virginia Tech. Some of it can be after the snap, but they'll do a lot of things like they'll move out the running back or they'll move the tight ends, the H-backs, to set up advantageous run situations. I kind of like their running offense. It's somewhere between Gus and Mike Norvell in his heyday. And, of course, Kyron makes the world go round because he's a large body and he's not afraid to run. Sometimes quarterbacks who can run don't want to. Kyron has been conditioned to run the football, and he likes to do it.
Yeah, to your point, they're top 10 EPA per rush, number 9 in the country on offense. Their success rate is number 3 in the country in the run game. Their pass game is 127th, Tom. 127th. That'll hurt your feelings. 127th.
It feels like that when you watch them. They had one shot down the field against Louisville. I think they were up 1 score at this point. This is a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And the kid drops it. Drones actually put it on the kid, and he dropped it. It feels like that has been the Virginia Tech experience, is if something can go wrong in the pass game because Kyron misses somebody or somebody drops it, it does go wrong. But the run game keeps them in games, and you can tell already before this game starts. It's not like they run it at tempo or a great clip. If they can get in a third manageable, I mean, and they move the chains, you're talking about long, protracted drives that take Florida State's offense off the field, and you've got a battle of tempos going back and forth here. And I think that's what you're going to see. That's the path, as you said earlier, Florida State could pull away. If you get them off the field or off schedule in 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 9 often enough, and they got to punt a couple of times, now they're going to play at the tempo that Florida State wants to play, which is a little bit more herky-jerky and fast. That's, I think, the game within the game today, all predicated on Does Florida State want to be there? And hell, at this point of the season, does Virginia Tech want to be there?
Yeah. I'll give you a good example. The game against ranked Louisville, that was a relatively close game. Drones was their leading passer and their leading rusher. However, he was their leading passer at 76 yards. And he was their leading rusher at 85 yards. And one does a check of the box score for the 2 overtime win against Cal, or the 35-20 loss against Georgia Tech before that, or the 30-23 game against Wake Forest. And what you'll find is Drones leading passer, 76 yards, 119 yards, 118 yards, 111 yards. That is a toughie. That's more credence to what we've talked about with the lack of a passing game.
Yeah, and that leaves the margin for error at very nil if you're them, because God forbid you put it on the ground like Florida State has earlier this year. It's just you have to stack 12, 13 plays in order to be successful on offense. But there they were, late third quarter against Louisville, up 16-14. And if you hit that shot play that the kid drops, it's a touchdown. You're up 2 scores, and you're probably going to beat Louisville before they suffered the loss that we all know about. You're probably going to score that win and go, whoa, all right, Virginia Tech, 3-2 in the ACC at that time they would have been. But instead, of course, the kid drops it, and by the end of the game, it looks a lot worse than it played out. They were in touch with Louisville for the balance of the game. It wasn't until late in the fourth that the Cardinals scored to push it to 28-16, which is the final. So there is danger in it, but again, it's a 3-6 football team that's heading on the road. So do they care? I don't know. I think that would be fair. If we were doing Hokies game day, we would have to ask that question.
Their 3 wins on the year, for those wondering. Win over Wofford. You don't get much credit for that, but you do get a credit for a road win against NC State, 23-21. In that game, Stewart ran for 174 yards. That'll do some things. And then their other win is a 2 overtime affair at home against Cal. They win 42-34, as I said, in double OT. So, it's weird. You go back, the thing that got their coach fired, Pry, is the way the season started. In retrospect, I wonder if Virginia Tech would have made that move, because as it turns out, the Old Dominion loss was the final straw. But Old Dominion turned out to be a darn fine football team, and that program is moving in the right direction. They lost that game 45-26. And they lost to Vanderbilt the week before. Well, I don't think people realize that Vanderbilt's pretty good. And so they lost that game. That's not a devastating loss. At the time they played South Carolina, it was the first game of the year. It was 24-11. South Carolina was ranked 13th in the country. Now, we know South Carolina didn't turn out to be much, but that didn't appear to be a bad loss at the time. My only point is they started 0-3, and people were up in arms in Blacksburg. Those aren't 3 terrible losses. Now, from there, it's gone on to not be much of a season. And I thought we came into the season, a lot of people overrating South Carolina's quarterback, a lot of people overrating Virginia Tech's quarterback, similar in that they're just not good enough in the passing game at all. We thought that, hey, listen, you're a dynamic runner, you're a big, strong guy, can make some plays with your legs, but if that's the primary mode of operation, you're going to have a hard time. You got to be able to throw the ball consistently and accurately. He has not been able to do so. They don't have a ton of weapons. So it's led to much consternation for Virginia Tech. It seems like we're a broken record when we talk about Florida State these days and turn it back around. You're oftentimes going against a team that's not playing well, that isn't very good, that doesn't have a lot going for it. You do have better personnel or equal to personnel, right? In how do you play? How do you execute? How well are you prepared? How well do you get started in a game? How well are you able to focus? Mike talks about the hows and whys of losing football games and the inconsistencies, and then he extrapolates from there that this is what's going on all around the country. And you're like, no, there's some teams that are pretty damn consistent week to week. I'm not saying you have to be Ohio State, but there are plenty of teams that, game over game, play well, win. They have 8 wins. They're doing okay. Not everybody struggles to be prepared week to week. Not everybody struggles to have consistent performances. Do I think the disbursement of talent in college football is greater than it's ever been, and more teams have a chance to win in a way that they never could than in years past? I do. I also think you're allowed to be good. You don't have to show up and be wildly inconsistent and not execute, commit penalties, turn the ball over in the red zone. You can play good football and give yourself a chance to win these games. Florida State, unfortunately, has not done that. We'll see if they do that tonight.
Yeah, it's not licensed to be last in the ACC over a 2-year aggregate. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? Virginia, you're looking up at Virginia Tech in the standings right now. Florida State's a 2-touchdown favorite over them, and you're looking up at them in the standings. I mean, that's where this team is capable today, Florida State is, of winning this game and covering the spread and doing so in rocking chair fashion. This team is capable today of losing to Virginia Tech and firing its coach within hours of the game being over. Now, some of that's on the administration to do, that's something that they haven't had the strength to do in this until this moment. But we all know what this group is for Florida State. It's extremely inconsistent, and you probably need a couple of things to go your way early in the game in order for you to settle in. Because the Wake Forest game, as much as we all want to talk about 42-7, understand that that defense did give up explosive plays, and thankfully ACC officials rightfully called a couple of holds in those moments. If they don't, and Florida State is down, and there's an explosive play for Wake Forest, and they score, they're up 7-0, offense comes up empty, that building turns hostile, and it might be a different game. Maybe not. Maybe they still win it. But I think you have to count on a couple of things going Florida State's way, like a holding call on a gain of 3. You know, it would be 2nd and 7. Now it's 1st and 20 for Virginia Tech, and they get off schedule within the drive, and that helps you get off the field. I hate that I have to count on that kind of stuff, but Florida State tells me that I need to count on that kind of stuff happening to pave the way for this game to go Florida State's way by a comfortable margin. But before the game starts, there's no doubt that Florida State is looking up in the standings at this Virginia Tech team, which can be game. It's just a matter of, in this day and age of college football, again, when they kick it off, are they locked the hell in at Virginia Tech? Kyron Drones has called Doak Campbell an overhyped stadium atmosphere. I don't know if we remember that from 2023, but he said that. He played an awful game here, but he was, in a sense, flicking the fans off on the way out, saying, you guys didn't do your job either. If it's spirited tonight, I would be very impressed. I would be very impressed with Florida State fans. But this is a game where investment level, if it's there, I think Florida State's in a good position.
Seems to me that it'll be a beautiful night. That you're going to have the cool air that we all clamor for as we walk into Doak Campbell. I will reiterate, in the last couple of games that I've attended at Florida State, and it's not even just sitting in the loge. I've had ones where I sat with my dad as well. And I really wish this team and this program could get on track, because the fixes, if you will, the renovations that they've made to Doak make it a very enjoyable experience. It's a great stadium. I loved it anyhow because of the facade and the aesthetics, but it was not wildly efficient in the inside of the stadium. And now it is. It's just pleasant. You'd like to see them perform well and give these fans something to hang their hat on always. But I love what they've done. That's the one area that I can't praise them enough in, is they've done a great job. That football-only facility looks fantastic. And as you look at it, when you make your way over to Doak, you're like, wow, we are a big-time program. And then you get into the expanded corridors there of Doak, and you have the restaurants and the great bathrooms and the cleanliness and all the things that, you see in modern stadiums. And you're really impressed, and you get to your seats and they're more comfortable than ever before. I feel like the noise has been retained. When we're loud, it's still loud in there. It's good. I know that lessening of capacity concerns some people about that. So they hit home runs on so many things, and it's like, oh, if we could just be a good football team again. Wouldn't that be nice? And I understand that the ship has sailed for this year. No matter what happens, they're not an elite football team this year. They could win out. They're not going to, but they could, and they still wouldn't be a very good football team. It'd still be a 7-5 product, which is not good. We all know what this is right now. It's just maddening as we get set for another football game to think about everything's in place. Everything's in place. Just got to take that next step. It's what's tough, because it frames the discussion every time we do a pregame show.
Well, remember that we were talking in the preseason that we were looking towards 8 wins. That's a reasonable goal this year. That's how you put one foot in front of the other. And if I told you, hey, here's our chance to get 8 wins, we're going to beat Alabama and be 3-0 heading on the road to Virginia, you'd think, oh my God, by golly, they're going to do it. Here comes 8, 9, maybe 10 if the ball bounces right. And that's the way we felt in the moment. But now where we are is that old meme. It's tired. It's been used for 10, 15 years. But it's the sign that somebody holds up and says, our expectations were low, but holy F, That's where we are today. I hope that we go out with the home schedule on a winning note. You'd have a 2-game winning streak to end the season inside the stadium of which you described. But man, we were looking for a minimum achievement in Florida State by Florida State standards. And yet in all likelihood, we certainly can't get to 8 without a bowl, but he's probably not even going to achieve that 7-5 thing, which we felt was on the low end of the outcome spectrum. And that's with a win over Alabama. That's supremely frustrating.
Without looking at big picture stuff regarding Mike Norvell, there are some big picture things to look at regarding personnel. And I want to talk about that when we come back on Warchant Game Day.
Hey, this is Jay Green from Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Can I stop and say thank you? Thank you for telling your guests to stay with us. Thank you for hosting your corporate meetings and social events in our rooftop meeting space. Thank you for hanging out with us on FSU football game day. Believe it or not, this sales guy isn't selling anything. I just want to say thank you. But if you've never seen our rooftop and I can ever help, give us a call, 850-755-9011. We are Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Welcome to our neighborhood.
Our football team makes life very stressful. There's a natural way that you can overcome said stress. Maybe you don't sleep well after one of those weekends in which Florida State incurs yet another loss. Well, CBD gummies are a huge piece of wellness, my wellness, at night before bed. There she is, floating about the universe. Tom always quick with the representation of what it's like to take a Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummy and the relaxation that follows. Right now, Jeff Cameron Show listeners can save 30% on their first order. Head to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code WARCHANT at checkout. That's right, cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use promo code WARCHANT. I don't know that you'd be floating around like her.
No, but I'll tell you what.
Easy. It's easy.
That's relaxing. Laying by the water in Clearwater Beach with Above and Beyond is relaxing. That's a nice 1-2 combo right there after this football season.
We did well there. We did well. Coming to stage 4 tonight on Warchant Game Day, Florida State, Virginia Tech set to do battle here in a game that Florida State, if they win it, get back to 500 on the season. And, that's what's at stake. Getting back to 500 on the season. And as Tom pointed out, a 2-game home winning streak.
That's right. Well, what's at stake for me is what beverage will I have for the Hotel Indigo send-off this afternoon at 4 o'clock? That's what I'm thinking about in this moment.
I like it. By the way, are you going to go with, given the cool air, are you going to go with something like, Bloody Mary I associate with a morning, like noon kickoff and obviously warmer days. I don't know that you would associate that with a night kickoff on a cool day.
No, I feel like what I'll do, and I'll see if maybe Riley or the crew can bring it up to the 7th floor for us, but I might do my Hawaiian coffee to send off the season.
Nice.
Double shot of Kahlua and decaf coffee. I don't need that Four Loko effect of big caffeine and the alcohol. That's what happens with the espresso martini. They make you a little bit jittery in the wrong way. But I think, a little bit of Kahlua and coffee. I think that sounds like a perfect idea for about 5 o'clock tonight, 5:30, as we wrap up the meet and greet.
So, 4 o'clock is when we'll be there, right? That's
it begins at 4 o'clock and it runs till 6. Yes.
Yeah. So, I look forward to that always. It's always great to see Noles coming into town, Noles that are already in town. People who have been so kind and supportive of us, what we try to do on game days and what we do throughout the week. I've met so many nice folks. I don't want to let this season pass without mentioning how much it means to Tom and I that you're able to come by and do that. I really sincerely mean this, that when I get to see people, it puts a smile on my face because you learn so many stories, so many of your fellow Noles, different years that they graduated, how long they've been a supporter, even if they've just been of the community and love Florida State, whatever it might be, whatever their story is, it's good to hear. And it's good to have those conversations. And it's also good to commiserate when you're going through bad times, just like it's great to celebrate and be together in the good times. So, it's therapy, guys. Let's just be honest. It's a little bit of football therapy.
I really enjoy that. Doing the shows are fun there too. And the crowds have gotten larger every year at Hotel Indigo, which is great. And the shows are fun for high stakes games like we did for Alabama and like we did for Miami. But I really enjoy the meet and greet more because it's the stories. It's where y'all come from. Like that is the more compelling thing to me. Last time we had a home game, I met 2 high school teachers from Port St. Lucie who wanted to say hi to me because they're Met fans. And one of them's from New York, but the other's a Met fan because that's where the spring training home of the Mets is. And they said, we understand each other. Like, I love that. I love meeting people from the West Coast. We had San Diego Chris bring some spirits for us this year, and countless other Noles that we've met from Orlando or Kissimmee or Tampa or Miami or Atlanta. I love hearing the stories, and everybody is in a great mood, even when we're bad on a game day, because that's your vacation. That's you are deciding to spend your hard-earned money to come back to the place you love in Tallahassee, and that energy is always felt, and it's great. It brings us up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, Illinois, California, Texas, New York.
We had
Nebraska, Hawaii. You go on and on. We've got people from all over the United States. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. All right, well, I teased this a moment ago. We were talking about aspects to kind of stay keyed in on, even in the midst of a disappointing campaign. And while we do speculate and wonder about the future of the head coach and the staff, I do sit around thinking a lot about the personnel. Because at the end of the day, as they say, it is not the X's and O's, but the Jimmies and Joes. And which of those Jimmies and Joes are going to stick around and play football for either the next coach or whomever it is that's leading the way? Could be Mike, I suppose, next year. Because you got some good football players. You actually kind of hit on this last class, his first real good recruiting class under Mike Norvell. And, you know, we all raised an eyebrow when Wynn didn't play. And it's the time of year, and I'll give you an example of this. There's consternation down in Gainesville, really several places, but I'll use Gainesville as an example. If you talk to their boosters and their supporters and the people that are all, hoping Lane Kiffin comes, they're looking at their roster, and they're looking at guys who didn't play in the Kentucky game. They're looking at guys that have publicly asked for their red shirt, because we all know if you get that, you're free to transfer and you have all of your eligibility left. And there are guys who late in the year are right at that threshold where if they keep playing, they're not eligible for the red shirt. So when a player this late in the year decides to come in and say, I've only played in 2 games this year, I don't need to play a third and a fourth. I'm good. I'm good. They're telling you they're leaving. They're telling you they're going to transfer in all likelihood. Not every time, but in all likelihood. And if you're in a situation that isn't going well and the results aren't there and there's tumult, then you hear about a player who can really play or aid your efforts next year asking for a red shirt, or you just look out on that field tonight and certain individuals that have played football for you and that are highly productive when they do, and or potentially very good players whom you wanted to see play more. If they're not out of nowhere, and you haven't heard about an injury, you start taking inventory about, are we starting to see now we're at the place in the season where guys are asking and opting out? So be on the lookout tonight for certain players. See if they play, see if they suit up, see if they get in the game. I'm a little worried about it.
Well, for Juju, yeah, he's at 4 games, and he didn't have an injury designation last week, and he didn't play last week. So I feel like if you see him, and I would be surprised if you see him in shoulder pads this week. That might not necessarily be about departing, because he was already injured to start the season. That also might be about what's in the best interest of the kid, independent of whether the coaching staff was coming back or not. Because you also, let's just say that it was the old times and the portal didn't exist. I think a coaching staff in that moment would say, well, you were hurt to start the year anyway. There's no sense in, fighting to get us bowl eligible. Let's conserve another year, because on the back end of your career, you might really need that. So I think that could be a play, regardless of what Juju decides to do. It's the right decision, I think, for a player of his caliber.
We agree on this, and I want to make it abundantly clear that not every person that reaches that 4-game threshold doesn't play has intentions to leave. There are kids who, you're right, they would just say, well, you've been battling some things. We don't need to further risk injury here. You're still dealing with nagging issues or whatever it might be. Hey, listen, we love what your potential is. We're going to go ahead and redshirt you the rest of the way. No sense in you playing in a season that's basically lost. You're right. That does exist. Look for guys who just magically just suddenly stop playing after they've been playing a lot. those are the guys you worry about.
Yeah, 100%. And that is not to say, well, I wanted to point that out just in case, because Juju might be locked in here and he's happy as a Seminole.
Let's hope.
He would court a lot of interest. There would be a ton of interest in his services because he was highly sought after, and Florida State needed to match offers in order to keep his services in the 2025 signing class. So, yeah, it's something to watch at the end of the season. And there are some other guys that I'm watching today. Ira and I had a joke about this on the Smash. Like, it would be a bad sign when they do the senior day ceremonies if suddenly you heard Usmain Chroma. Like, whoa, why is he carrying roses at the mom? This is not great. Or Mandrell and Daryl Desir. Whoa,
no. Yeah.
Why are they getting a ceremony? This is not good. But this is that part of the year where, I mean, frankly, with all the TV commercials and breaks that college football has, I'm not thinking about that 2nd and 6 play call when we're at commercial break. I'm thinking, damn, the Desirs look good again. I hope they come back next year. That's where I hope that we have people within the structure of this organization, whether they're inside Norvell's structure or not, are thinking about those very, very important conversations that need to be had.
Oh, buddy, doesn't it? Don't you just long for a Warchant game day where we're able to just talk about the nuts and bolts of a big game, that the impact of winning means that you're a step closer to vying for the college football playoff, virtue of your entrance into the ACC championship game? Like, don't you just long for those meaningful conversations about that kind of thing, man? Golly.
So I had a guy he's a Florida grad and he's a big time Gator supporter. He was texting this week and he said, this fan base is spoiled. Florida State's fan base is spoiled with the media coverage. He's being kind. And he said, but to be honest, I don't listen to you guys very much when you're doing well. I usually listen to JCS and I listen to headlines when you guys aren't doing so hot. And my retort was, well, thanks for listening a lot the last 10 years. Because
he's been a constant listener.
You've had a lot of opportunity. There was some good times in the middle of these last 10 years, but for the most part, I guess you've been checking out what we do an awful lot. And I'm with you. I wish, I hope. And that's how we left at Wake Forest Warchant game day. You think we win? Like, I hope we do. That should never be the energy we carry into a football game. Ever. And yet it's the energy we carry into the football games more than half the time in the last 10 years, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't like talking about the stuff on the periphery. I don't like talking about the stuff behind the scenes. I don't like talking and engaging the rumors about what might be or what might not be and how soon we find out this info. I want to talk about Florida State's excellence, the X's and O's, and why it is they can win the game and go on the next week to play a big game, because every game becomes big exponentially when you win the previous. I want to have those conversations. We desperately do. It's the elephant in the room at all times when you're having to do a pregame show. And I don't mean it, I love my job, but when you're doing a pregame show about Florida State, Virginia Tech, and neither team is going anywhere, it is very difficult to get down in the muck and talk about how you're going to win the game.
I think I think one of the especially frustrating things this year, because it would be right in front of us to talk about. It would be another thing, even if the season had done the same thing from a wins and losses standpoint, is that neither coordinator has taken the bull by the horns such that you'd feel like, well, if they're going to move on, at least they have their solution on staff. Like, Tony White, I think, has done a pretty good job in the last month. I've seen improvement from the Pitt game, which was an abject disaster, but I see guys improving, and I hope that they're still invested to continue to improve. And that's the side of the ball that we've already broken down, but that's the one I'm more interested in tonight than the offense, because while the offense has been more productive and is higher in a lot of the national rankings, that group was airlifted and airdropped in from elsewhere in order to be a one-year offense at Florida State. Like, Gus runs it, but you got 5 dudes in the offensive line that are going to be gone. The quarterback probably gone. Deuce Robinson, I don't think he's coming back. The running backs, you're going to lose at least probably 2 or 3 of them this year, if not more, because there's a lot of guys that can play, and so they might want to find featured back roles elsewhere. Like, that thing was brought in to succeed for 2025 and 2025 only. The defense, on the other hand, while it has some veterans, was thought to be this group that you think you're going to lean on more as Tony White's tenure goes on. And I wish it played well enough to where you'd say, well, they might make a change. And you know what? They might just naturalize Tony and make him the head man. But it hasn't been to that level. While I think he's done a decent job, it has not been to that level. I don't think you can rightfully do that at Florida State. So that's another frustrating thing is you, in theory, brought in two coordinators who could have been your next head coach, and neither has even sniffed doing well enough to be considered as an option. So the question always becomes, well, who do you hire? Man, I don't know. And I wish the answer was one of the guys on staff.
Yeah, and I really especially wanted to see Tony White emerge as a potential candidate there because he is such an impressive individual in person. When you speak with him, he's got a real command, a leader of men feel to him, a guy who's buttoned up in every way. You're right. Had they been a dominant force for much of this year, you could say, maybe there's your guy. I don't love Gus Malzahn's offense. So to me, he is immediately excommunicated. I don't have any desire to have an ongoing relationship with a Gus Malzahn offense and talking about what it looks like in the future because I don't like it. I think this is a offense that is filled with, in a weird way, fool's gold. I don't think you win big running this offense ever. You might have a season, you might have a player, you may have a moment. You can rise up and really cause problems for people who aren't used to seeing this type of offense. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to play especially when you get to the playoffs, if you're good enough, you're going to play a team that's going to make the quarterback throw the football. And once that happens, if he can't, and you don't have much in the way of sophistication with the routes that you have in your offense, you get really easy to stop. And, Tommy's been wildly inconsistent, and that leads me to my next point. You're right. I wish that we had a go-to guy within the staff. Hell, it would make things a lot more inexpensive as well. But that's the big part of it. But I would say this, I heard a lot of talk this week about, no matter who comes in, will they choose to try to bring Tommy back? Will they see if they can get the eligibility, which they probably could if they wanted to? And what would it cost you to bring Tommy back? And I had a bunch of questions for some reason in my inbox this week about that. And I was almost, I just missed the premise. What are you talking about? What from Tommy? Now, this is not a personal attack on Tommy. This is solely about his play. What from Tommy have you seen that would make you want to bring him back and pay him anything close to $800,000 to $1 million to be your quarterback? You can say, well, he's hurt. Well, he's always hurt. He's 5'10". He's going to get hurt. He's not a big guy. He can't endure this kind of offense doing what he needs to do to be special, which is run. He has to be able to run all the time. He has to be that has to be the major facet of what he brings to the table. And if he can't, he's not accurate enough. He doesn't see it. He's zero reason to bring him back. Zero.
And there's no proof that there's been willingness to clean up the mechanics to create greater consistency with the throws. The mechanics are still terrible. I mean, they don't beget reliable results. And unfortunately for Florida State, of course, you devise a plan to bring in a running offense in a year where a lot of the secondaries you're going against were gettable. They were really gettable. I mean, Virginia was, and Pitt was, and Stanford's its own animal, but even Clemson was. And you're like, oh my God, you look at these particular circumstances and you say, if you just had somebody, even within the structure of Gus's pass concepts, that could consistently get the ball downfield, your record would not be the way that it is. It's not to say that it's all Tommy's fault. I'm not saying that at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
I just referenced the Tony White defensive performance against Pitt. That was absurd, and it was awful. And the Stanford game is shared blame to go around for everybody, starting with the head coach. But this is not a situation where you say run it back, let's renew the contract dollar for dollar. That's just insane. And I wish he were healthy because I think his legs were, because Florida State's record would be different. But the one thing I'll say, I did not expect to see this from Tommy, is that he's less willing than ever to run, and that was before he took the giant hit at Stanford. That was before that concussive, dirty hit that he took in the Stanford game. He was not willing to put it on the line as a runner, instead opting for other things and speeding up in his head. And I thought maybe he would run, he just wouldn't have the same explosiveness. But man, he's not willing at the same level, and that also takes a toll on Florida State. Just take a look at the one play last week against Clemson where it's second and 1, second and 2, and he juts out of bounds early and doesn't get the first down. Like, that's an indicator to me that, oh, man, you're not willing. And if you're not, then that's taking away your jab and your haymaker. Like, what do you have left?
That was the only reason to bring him in. It was the only reason, and I feared it. We all did. Look, man, do I think he's a good athlete? Of course I do. Do I think he's capable on any given day of doing some pretty special things because of that said athleticism? Absolutely. We saw it against Alabama, and we've seen it against other teams as well. But if he's not going to run and really feature that as his go-to and the way we need to utilize him, then really what you have is a very substandard quarterback throwing the ball. There's no drop-back passing game for Florida State.
He is exactly the guy who we said he was going to be this time last year when it was bantied about as a fledgling idea, and then 2 months after that when Florida State actually went and got him. He's exactly the guy who we thought he was going to be. And that's unfortunate because you were hoping in a Gus system he'd be somebody that he never was before, and that hasn't materialized.
No, and I think what has been highlighted here, which is frustrating, and it was right of you to bring up the fact that even within Gus's limited passing concepts, it still could have been good. What you see with him is why he was never projected in any way, shape, or form as an NFL quarterback. People will say, well, Kyler Murray made it. Yeah, Kyler Murray has a cannon for an arm, first of all, and Kyler Murray made all the throws in college from the pocket. You stand in the pocket and sling it around the lot in a complicated offensive system. Very different. By the way, I would also note Kyler Murray is a better athlete. Kyler Murray is a freak of an athlete. Could have played professional baseball, is a freak of an athlete. Comparing those two is lazy. You're only doing it because they're both short. But they're not in comparison as throwers.
No, it's offensive to Kyler Murray. And we talk about Kyler on the NFL level differently. And even then with Kyler, but he completed nearly 70% of his passes. And in 2018, lest y'all forget, 42 touchdowns against 7 interceptions.
Oh, no. He was an elite passer at Oak. Yeah, no. It's not the same. They're not the same. They're just both short.
While also running for 1,000 yards.
He's one of the best athletes I've ever seen. So we're not doing that. Just don't. Anyhow, yeah, I'll put that to bed, guys. We don't need to run this back. Let's just put it that way. That's a long-winded way of saying I sure wish Tony White would have emerged. We'll come back, wrap up Warchant Game Day in a moment. Introducing Harry's Plus. Oh, I've told you about Harry's razors before. Here's a little bit of the shaving cream they sent me. Thank you. Sent to the beeper. Also, Harry's got the travel pack razor. I got the Harry's in the back bathroom. I got the Harry's for my kids. What are we talking about? Well, they're high school kids. One of them's a senior. He needed a good razor. Harry spent 10 years developing their most advanced razor yet, an entire decade of R&D for the smoothest possible shave. And I can attest to that because I shave every morning with Harry's. And you won't find a better blade. And I've tried all of them. Refined blade technology. I could tell you about that. I could talk to you about the quality, the barbershop quality shave. Feels like almost like a straight razor. It's unbelievable. And their razors still cost less than Gillette Fusion, which is crazy. So you get this premium shave without this exorbitant price. Risk-free trial right now. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right. No questions asked. Here's what you do, guys. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/warchant. Get you a Harry's razor. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shaving gel. Got that too. Yeah. And travel cover to protect your blades when you go on the road. Just head to harrys.com/warchant to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support this show, The Jeff Cameron Show. Support Warchant. Tell them that we sent you. That's right, harrys.com/warchant. Once again, we want to say goodbye to everybody here at Hotel Indigo and thank them for their hospitality. It is always fun to collaborate with our friends at Hotel Indigo. Best view of Doak Campbell Stadium in all of Tallahassee. And you know what? Through thick and thin, good and bad, of course. Hotel Indigo's here for you. It's the place to stay when you're in town. coming to a Florida State baseball game, Florida State basketball game, Florida State softball or soccer game, whatever it might be, make sure you stay here at Indigo. You got everything you need right here. Walking distance to all the stadiums, of course, and walking distance to the bars as well. Good times, good food, good people, Noles everywhere here at Hotel Indigo. Thanks to Jay and his crew. We appreciate it very, very much. Tommy, you want to weigh in there? I saw you were about to say something.
Well, I was going to say, maybe we can craft something with old Hotel Indigo for basketball season or baseball season, like a little get together and then a walkover, to the
I'm in
games, because it is centrally located for both the Civic Center and for Dick Hauser Stadium. So maybe we can do something when the weather is super cold. I love the cold beginnings to the day in basketball season. We get like a little morsel of that for football. This year it was the Wake game. It's not even so much today's game against Virginia Tech. But you know what I mean when it's like 42 and the wind's whipping. Oh, man, I'd love to be up on the deck for something like that.
You're describing a good day, buddy. Let's go. Let's be cold. Let's get warmed up by the drinks that they're offering on the 7th floor at Indigo or the bottom floor at Indigo, either way. And then we'll meander our way over to the Civic Center, the TLC for some great Florida State basketball, a riveting product emerging here in Tallahassee for Florida State basketball. I do say I'm excited about these games. I've liked what I've seen so far. I know it's a football day. We need to get back to it. I guess at the end of the show here, we have to give a prediction. It's become increasingly difficult to do. I'll go back over some numbers here, guys. Virginia Tech on offense this year, net EPA for the season, 110th. It ain't good. Defensively, net per play, defensively, per game, I should say, 134th. Not good. Offensive success overall, 51st. Rushing, 9th. Passing, 127th. Defensive success, terrible. Pass rush combo, 130th, Tom. Ain't good. Per drive, not good. Per field position, not good. Per game, not good. All right, bodes well for Florida State. What say you, sir? What's the final?
I think I picked 27-21 on the report. I'm not sure what you decided to do, but I think, there's an opportunity here. They've given up over 230 or 250 yards of rushing to Louisville, to Georgia Tech. They did stop the run against Cal, but Cal's O-line ain't great. Their quarterback is good, though. So I think Florida State's got a chance here to do what it wants to do on the ground. And if that happens, then they set the pace, and Virginia Tech is chasing the rest of the day. So give me the Noles and a squeaker.
I think I took us 30-21. I just look at this Virginia Tech defense, and I look at all their injuries. If Florida State's locked in and cares to be there, I feel like they could have a lot of success and win the game. The only way it goes south for Florida State is if they're not unable to stop the run early. Then all of a sudden you have some real issues, and they'll control the clock and then have fewer possessions and all that sort of thing. But I got Florida State winning the game 30-21. Good work out of you, Tommy. Another great year, buddy. Always, we love doing this, and we appreciate all of you tuning in to Warchant Game Day. We'll be there 4 o'clock on Saturday. Swing on by today if you're listening on game day. 4 o'clock, 7th floor. Great view, good people, good food, good drinks, all of that. Go Noles.